Greetings and welcome to this virtual worship service coming to you from the neighborhood church in Palos Verdes. Michael and I are delighted to welcome you to this time when we can come together, open our spirits to God, and be in community. We come as people of faith. We come because Jesus is the light of the world, and we celebrate that every week with the Christ candle on our communion table because it is such an important part of who we are and how we find our way in the world. And so we're in an Eastertide sermon series called Light Living as we bask in the light and the power of resurrection. So let's come now to truly worship our God, who is truth, who is light, who is love, as we hear together the prelude.
And now let us all join together in praying our opening prayer. O God, let the hush of your presence enfold us now, quietly, as the sun rises higher and higher, silently, as buds expand into blossoms, tenderly, as a parent hushes a newborn. Lead us into a deeper communion with you. May our minds recover their poise. May our love become more sincere. May our wills become strong enough to endure. And may this threefold strengthening be to us the sign of your presence. Let this time be so radiant with your presence that all other moments may shine with new light, new beauty, new purpose, and new meaning. Through the one who is our light, even Jesus the Christ. Amen. Today's first scriptural reading is from the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, verses 2 through 8. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them the light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult when they divide plunder. For the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the tramping warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. For a child has been born to us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace. For the throne of David and his kingdom, he will establish and uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time forward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. Our second reading today is from the book of John, chapter 1, verses 1 through 9. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him, not one thing came into being. What is come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. May the Lord grant us meaning and understanding to this, the reading of the Holy Word.
To bring hope to every
Today's sermon title is The Flashlight of Faith. The most obvious suggestion being that Jesus is the flashlight. Perhaps that is too easy and oversimplified, because when it comes to the mysteries of life and faith, most analogies can never hold up completely. When the lights go off, most of us have a flashlight close at hand to help us in the darkness. We can often take light for granted, as well as our flashlights in the dresser drawer, until the batteries quit working. We are in the midst of a spring sermon series, Light Living, as we continue on in the light and the power of the resurrection of Christ. Flashlights are often used because of fear in the darkness. Now, fear is something that we all experience. And we don't have to have physical darkness around us, although that can be the case when we hear a strange noise in the middle of the night. But there are things within us that create darkness. There are fears, there are nightmares that can bring us to a bolt of alertness after a deep sleep, and it's as though that dream was so real and vivid. There are experiences in our lives that can cause great pain and anguish, and we can relive those experiences, and that creates fear. Or we live in fear that something that happened a long time ago but was so horrible could happen to us again. So there are many ways that we experience fear. The mother of a 4-year-old girl suddenly turned on the lights in the daughter's bedroom to demonstrate to her that there were no bears in the room. And like so many well-meaning demonstrations, this one proved unconvincing. The kind of bears I see, said the girl, are the kind that only come out in the dark. Lest we think children are the only ones who are afraid, we need to think again, especially when we are thrown out of our normal circumstances and staring at an unknown immediate future. Fear can cause us to abandon our convictions. Did you know that when the Titanic went down, many of the lifeboats were only half full? Yet people, by the hundreds, were left behind to drown because of fear on the part of those in the boats. A certain swimmer succeeded in making his way to a half-empty boat, and he clutched the side and he tried to climb in, but no one lent him a hand. In fact, a woman took an oar and pounded his hands until he could no longer cling to the side of the boat, and he dropped back to his death. She did it, not because there was no room in the boat, but because she was brutalized by fear. Fear can cause us to set aside all our convictions and turn us into beasts. Fear can be one of the most dangerous and worst things in life, especially when it takes over and has a mind of its own. It's as though we have blinders on. So here's what Peace Pilgrim said about fear. There's no greater block to world peace or inner peace than our fear. What we fear, we tend to develop an unreasoning hatred for. So we come to hate and fear. This not only injures us psychologically and aggravates world tension, but through such negative concentration, we tend to attract the things we fear. If we fear nothing and radiate love, we can expect good things to come. How much this world needs the message and example of love and faith. We are called to love and faith. These are the basics of our Christian tradition. We all know that, love and faith. but living them out as part of light living. That is the challenge in all circumstances. One more story. Roy Smith shared an experience from his childhood, and I've never forgotten it. Late one evening, his father asked him to go to the barn for some tools. And Roy begged his father not to send him, admitting he was deathly afraid of the dark. His father put a flashlight in his hand and asked, "How far can you see, son?" He looked around and he said, as far as the maple tree, Dad." "Then go to the maple tree." And when Roy arrived there, his father asked, "How far can you see?" "I can see to the raspberry bush," Roy said. And when he arrived at the bush, his father asked again, "How far can you see from there?" This time, it was the chicken coop. Next, it was the hayloft. And finally, the barn. And so Roy, step by step, made it to the barn. In Isaiah 9:2, we read, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them has light shined." You see, the energy source of all living is Jesus Christ. In my Sunday school experience, I learned about this source and this energy. That's where I got it. It wasn't in seminary or some theological book. It wasn't in a classroom of higher learning. No, I came to know Jesus as the light and as the energy source of my inner life through the faithful witness of Sunday school teachers when I was at a very impressionable age. Everyone comes to faith in different ways, but that's how it was for me. I came to know that Jesus is the energy that we can't put into words, but it's that which gives us the capacity to live in love, to not live in fear, and to share the light. And so the Word is a unit of energy. And so we remember from our text, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You see, words have energy. They are charged with power. And that's what came into being in Jesus Christ. God gave us the ultimate communication of God's love in Jesus Christ. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That was a flash appearance. That was a flash appearance, and it was the life that was the light of the world. John the Baptizer recognized this light that came into the world. You see, that flash appearance of light in the Word came in a special way, for Christ is that flash light of faith. God communicated in Jesus. God flashed onto the human scene in the one we have come to know as Word and light. St. John of the Cross was a 16th century Spanish mystic who knew that whisper. The Father uttered one word. That word is His Son. And God utters Him forever in everlasting silence. And the soul to hear it must be silent. We are not the source of the word, nor are we the light. It is the flashpoint. It is the flashlight of faith. You see, Jesus flashed in the flesh of his body. Jesus, as light, flashed in his physical body for just a few brief years. And we, by faith, have come to know him as the flashlight of faith, the one who gives us guidance in outer darkness, yes, perhaps, but in inner spiritual darkness. And we've all been there. And we turn to that light, that one who can be trusted to accompany us through all the difficulties and darknesses of life. And Jesus is the one who flashed into the world in flesh. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And that light keeps on shining. It's a light that the darkness cannot put out. You see, now it is for us to receive the true flashlight of faith and share the flashlight of faith, all as part of our light living. Amen.
And now it is time for our pastoral prayer. So let us quiet ourselves, open our hearts and our souls in a prayer to God. Today we thank you for bringing the light of Jesus Christ into our world. His light will pierce any darkness and lead us on the path to you. No matter how steep, no matter how winding, no matter how treacherous the path may be, the light of Jesus will guide us through. But frequently, through our actions or inactions, we dim the light of Jesus. We turn our backs to that light so that we begin to walk in the darkness. We may think we may belong in the dark and are more comfortable wrapped in it. After all, in the dark, we don't have to worry about doing what is right and just. In the darkness, we don't have to worry about taking advantage of others only for our own gain. In the gloom of the darkness, we can worry only for ourselves and not those who are living in even greater darkness, not because they wish to, but because they are suffering from the loss of a loved one who used to reflect the love of God and have that light reflected upon them. Or they are suffering in the darkness of poverty, homelessness, discrimination, or violence based upon the color of their skin or on their ethnicity. Dear God, today we wish to turn back to the light and the love of Jesus Christ. We ask for that light to wash over us and guide us in all that we do. Help us to enter into the world of the light of Jesus that will banish the darkness that is closed around us and that resides within us. With that light, may we turn from hatred to love, from self-indulgence to caring for others, from separation from others to inclusiveness, from spreading falsehoods to only participating in the truth, and from living in the darkness to living in the true light, love, and warmth that only comes from Jesus the Christ, and that only He can provide. It is in His name and in His light that we all pray. Amen.
Thank you for joining us today as we have explored the theme, the flashlight of faith, continuing on in our Eastertide sermon series, Light Living. Just last week, we began having our in-person outdoor services here at the neighborhood church, and we had 50 plus people here to join us for that wonderful time of being together here at the church and on our church grounds. If you'd like to join us on one of the coming Sundays and feel comfortable doing that, please go to the church website and make a reservation. It is required to have a reservation so that we can know exactly how many people will be here for our outdoor services. Also, I want to mention that to share in the journey of light living, a wonderful opportunity is coming around the corner, and that is our annual crop walk. That'll be happening May 17th through the 21st. That's a Monday through Friday. You can walk on any one of those days. We'd love to have you participate either as a walker or as one who makes a contribution to support the walkers. This is an important way to not only shine the light of faith to the world, but of truly helping others, for it goes to combat world hunger. And we want to participate in that as we have in the years past. So if you'd like to do that, just go to the church website and you can find all the information and detail about how to register. You do have to register in advance because of COVID and all the restrictions there. We also want to lift up one of our community concerns, and that, of course, is that Myra Gabrielle has contracted COVID herself and is in the hospital. And so she's struggling. She's not on a ventilator, but she is really exhausted and worn out because of all the medication and treatment she's receiving. And fortunately, she's getting very good care, and we hope she's going to make a full recovery. And so we want to think about Myra. We want to keep her on our hearts and in our prayers. And we also think of her husband, Magdi, and the entire family. So let's remember her in the coming days and the week ahead. Now, as we do go into that week, I hope you'll go, knowing that there is no darkness around you or within you that can ever separate you from the light of Christ. We are a people of the light. We are a people who affirm that God has come to us in Jesus Christ to bring us so much in the ways of love and light. Go, knowing that you are loved and that light will shine before you, giving you a way through all the futures that you face, known and unknown. And go. Go in the love and the light and the joy of God. Amen.